Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review. This time reviewing episode 35. Vegeta demands that he fight Frost. And while Frost is surprised Universe 7 would jeopardize their own chances, it's not really an issue. Vegeta beats Frost with one punch. Defeated, Frost tries to steal Champa's ship, but one of the Universe 6 contestants gets in the way, the legendary assassin Hit. Next up is Vegeta vs Magetta, the alien who's not a robot but looks a lot like a robot. While Vegeta seems to have the upper hand, the new rule that he can't touch the barrier even in midair restricts him a little. That and the heat from Magetta's magma attacks seems to be getting to him. So, what did I like about this episode? First of all, I think I really enjoyed the first kind of proper, real formal introduction of Hit. I mean, from everything we saw from all the promotional material to even just the fact that his design seemed the most unique. Everyone thought that Hit was going to be the biggest deal, the strongest opponent out of all of the Universe 6 contestants, and that does seem to be the case. I mean, in a tournament setting like this, you generally want to try and, build up your biggest threat by, just showing that they are actually really strong and they could be a legitimate threat to our heroes. And that was pretty well accomplished in this episode by having him just deal with Frost really easily in a kind of surprisingly gruesome looking way. I mean, then there's also the fact that we have found out that Hit is apparently a legendary assassin, which explains his name. It's Hit from Hitman, which is actually kind of smart. But either way, I feel like, while we don't actually know what Hit's going to be like later on in the actual fight, this scene did a good job of building him up and making us all excited to see him in action. I also really enjoyed the fight, or at least the first part of the fight between Vegeta and Magetta. First of all, it's Vegeta having a fight that's not settled in 2 seconds, which is something that I wanted to see. I wanted to actually see Vegeta struggle and actually have to do a fight on his own that's not just immediately finish in 2 seconds. So that's one thing. And I think Magetta's been a pretty interesting opponent as well. Obviously the whole point is he looks like a robot, but, they managed to keep in that theme without it being, his entire character. In that, it's not just he has attacked the, say, homages to just, mecha anime, although I feel apparently there were 1 or 2 of those in there. The whole point is, he's not just a robot character. Obviously, he's big, and he's somewhat slow, but also, stronger to compensate for that, and he also can't fly, but the fact is, he seems to have a bit more, in that, he can seem to kind of charge up and sort of repair himself, and just sort of, a whole bunch of just sort of unique abilities. And I feel like this was a really nice, it's just been a really nice fight so far. There seems to be actual strategy, and it's more than just, overpowering the opponent by just transformations. It's Vegeta is actually strategizing. There was a little part where it's a little infograph of, Vegeta trying to, realize that he's, at a disadvantage now with a new rule, and that picture kind of reminded me of something that would be in, HunterXHunter. And one thing I was not expecting Dragon Ball Super to do was remind me of fights from HunterXHunter. So I'd say this is definitely a positive. As for what I didn't like about this episode, now that Frost is out of the tournament, it's just making me realize how kind of meaningless all of his stuff was. Because if you really think about it from the start to the end, the only thing that it really accomplished was 1, to remove Piccolo, and 2, to just kind of shuffle up the turn order. Because Vegeta is fighting, and Goku, because he was disqualified, but now that Frost was discovered cheating, Goku is back in, although he's going to show up later. So it's just making me think, this entire thing with Frost just kind of felt a little pointless. I mean, Frost was probably one of the least interesting characters, even when he was good Frieza, and now that he's maybe less evil Frieza, he was even less interesting, at least in my opinion. And honestly, I have a sinking feeling that, considering the way this whole fiasco ended, I have a sinking feeling that, like Ginyu, Frost was just a character who was just brought in there for Vegeta to defeat. As if Frost was just there to appease the people who were really pissed off that Vegeta didn't get the chance to kill Frieza in Resurrection F. So it's okay, yeah, see, Vegeta doesn't get to kill Frieza, but look, Vegeta gets to beat Frieza's maybe sort of Universe 6 doppelganger, which is bad Vegeta fan service, which is honestly my least favorite kind of fan service in this series. And then there's the fact that, like Goku, Vegeta also seems to be using his regular Super Saiyan form. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's kind of a reason for this. This makes sense. They're in a tournament, they want to have fun, they don't need to use their full power, and it's probably a lot more draining to use the God form. But at the same time, even if this does have a precedent, I still can't get over the feeling that this is just kind of a way to sell more toys, to sell new variations of Goku and Vegeta in their F outfits now that they have Gold Head Super Saiyan as well. I know, like, from the beginning I was expecting Dragon Ball Super to be a bit of a toy commercial. I just didn't expect it to be this blatant. So as for next episode, Vegeta and Magetta's fight continues, and Vegeta looks like he's going to try and use the final flash, which will be kind of interesting. I'm gonna say here, I am honestly really hoping that Vegeta wins, mostly just because I want to see Vegeta fight Kappa. I'm about 90% sure that Vegeta is going to fight Kappa, but either way, I'm still excited for that. That's one of the fights that I've actually been looking forward to. So I'm just hoping that's going to happen soon. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 35. To be honest, it was another really kind of enjoyable episode. Don't get me wrong, I still find the way the Frost subplot was handled, I still don't really enjoy that much. But now we're getting to like actual more fights, and the fights themselves have been kind of enjoyable. Actually, they've been really enjoyable. That's what I really like about this tournament setting. Because it's not in this life and death scenario, characters are allowed to be more creative and do things, and everything, the stakes feel lower, but as a result, they can be a lot more creative with how they do these fights. It's not always just like, you've got to always win or else it's going to be the end of the world. It's just like, oh yeah, you fight the best as you can, and if you lose, whatever, we've got another person. And even if they're a tournament fight, there seems to be some stuff going on behind the scenes. Whether the tournament setting is going to collapse eventually, I don't know. 2 weeks ago, I was sure that was going to happen. Now I'm not so sure. But either way, I'm still really excited for this tournament and for the stuff that's happening later on. So this is Gabby, signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!